Heather Stang. Where are you at? She is a band groupie. I found this out. Her husband, who makes professional great guitars. She is a thanatologist, which is an absolutely cool word. Who doesn't want to be a thanatologist? She's a thanatologist, mindfulness speaker, and author of Mindfulness and Grief with guided meditations to calm your mind and restore your spirit, and the host of, and I would encourage you to listen to these, the podcast Mindfulness and Grief. She's best known for teaching leaders and caregivers how to use mindfulness-based techniques to reduce stress, cope with grief, and cultivate personal growth. Her work is inspired by her own journey of love, loss, and post-traumatic growth. She's the founder of the Mindfulness and Grief Training Institute and the Frederick Meditation Center, where she is, this is another cool idea, the Phoenix Rising Yoga Therapist and Mindfulness Meditation Instructor. Well, Heather is on the advisory board for the highly regarded military family survivor organization TAPS, and offers professional training and workshops for organizations including the Association of Deaf Education and Counseling, the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization, and the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation, and the Maryland Library Association. So let's give a warm welcome to Heather Stang. Heather, welcome.
Embodied experience. Our heart breaks, even right there in that languaging. We're mentioning body, aren't we? Because heart, you feel it here. Most of us do. Some of us feel it here, some of us feel it here, some of us feel it everywhere. But the body has a really powerful stress response when we are grieving. And what I realized is what I was doing as a yoga therapist supported what the grief therapists were doing. Circle back to John Kabat-Zinn's definition of mindfulness, which is often misconstrued as just being present. And even when we say, be here now, which was Ram Dass's thing, just be here now, that's missing an element of kindness and compassion that you cannot separate out from mindfulness. In fact, John Kabat-Zinn has a beautiful quote. It says, in Asian languages, the word for heart and the word for mind are the same thing. One word for heart and mind. And so if you're not hearing mindfulness as heartfulness, you're kind of missing the point. Because you can be aware and present and do very bad things. I mean, I've been aware and present and eaten the last cookie that I know my husband wanted. Was that mindful? Conscious relaxation. Let's just practice for a moment. And you can keep your eyes open, that is totally fine, but I invite you to keep your eyes open, maybe gaze at the flowers in the center. Maybe don't gaze at someone sitting across from you, because that can feel confrontational or make you giggle. And if you giggle, it's totally okay, by the way, that happens. Or gaze down at your table, or you can close your eyes, whatever works for you. And I invite you to just, if it feels right in your body, take a breath in, a fuller breath in maybe than you would have taken before. And then just let it go. And notice the places in your body that are feeling particularly tense or tight. And there's sound arising. You can actually use that as part of your relaxation practice, just receiving and hearing the sound. You don't have to do anything about it. And then coming back to your body, imagine what it would be like to soften those areas just maybe 2 or 3% more. And there might be places that don't unwind, don't command, but places like your jaw, your hands, your belly. These are areas where you can consciously let go a little bit and just invite in some conscious relaxation. able to find a place where you can let go a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot, but maybe it is. You can imagine that that spreads out to more areas of your body. And so you're just pausing and learning how to control what you can, but don't go to battle with what you can. These types of relaxation practices, which could be going through your body and systematically tensing and releasing things, which is called progressive muscle relaxation, or just consciously softening through your body, unfurling tense muscles, or focusing your attention on that one thing, one pointed focus, counting, something so simple. What happens after 5-10 minutes, some people 1 or 2, is that your body knows that it can step out of the stress response, which is where we spend a lot of our time. Fight, flight, and now freeze is part of that. And when you do that, you will start to activate another system in your body that is called the relaxation response. In the 1960s, a cardiologist by the name of Herbert Benson observed that people who meditate, and he was observing a focusing meditation, evoked another response in their body that is the physiologic opposite of fight, flight, or freeze. So everything that happens in your body when you are stressed, and remember, grief is a stress response, among other things. It's many things, but one aspect of grief is that we are stressed out by it. Is that not true? And all the secondary losses that we also have to deal with, in addition to the fact that our loved one isn't here. And so when we're grieving, our stress response gets amped up, and that leads to all sorts of stress-related illnesses, accidents. There's a reason why the mortality rate, unfortunately, for spouses is higher 6 months to a year after their spouse dies. Part of it is because of these stress reactions, so we see a lot of heart attacks and strokes. And accidents. You know, I think that's one that we need to address. Accidents happen because when we're grieving, we're pretty mindless. We're out of our mind. That we were born with this innate system in our body that can take the stress response and put it in the other direction and help prevent stress-related illnesses. With shingles, by the way, had I had this, maybe I would have never had shingles. That would have been fantastic. But it also changes physically the size of certain areas of our brain when we are mindful. And this could be during formal meditation, which is recommended, where you just sit down somewhere and you take time out to try your best to stay present and compassionate and start over again and again. And when you couple it with informal mindfulness, what I invited you to do during this talk, where you're just here now. What they found is, first, that the amygdala shrinks. The amygdala is that reptilian part of your brain where your emotions live. It is the reactive part of the brain that gets stressed out, whether there's a car racing towards you as you cross the street, or a bill comes in the mail that you really were not expecting. Okay, so the amygdala gets fired whenever we face stress. Now, it's biologically adaptive when a car is racing to you. You jump out of the way. That's the part that says, okay, all systems go, we're gonna keep her safe. And you either freeze or you run or you fight. Okay, fight, flight, freeze starts here. It physically shrinks when you meditate. It actually gets smaller. Now, the good news is this doesn't mean that you are less safe. The part that keeps you alive still works, but it means that you are less reactive when stresses arise that are not life-threatening. I wanted to just give you an overview of how mindfulness practices help, because one of my goals today is to give you hope. You know, that there is something you can do even when the unthinkable has happened. And so behind me there's a list of things that I have observed in my clients and in myself that help with mindfulness, such as getting good sleep, reducing physical tension. I have this sweet woman, and I volunteer for the hospice, 2 hospices, one in the town I live in, and one in the town I work in, where my meditation center is. And at one of those, they pulled me in to teach like relaxation when you're grieving or meditate, basically kind of what we're doing here. And this sweet woman, she said, I thought it was just my arthritis, but after doing that meditation, my body doesn't hurt as much anymore. And yeah, she did have arthritis. That did not go away in the 10-minute meditation. But what happened is it unwound her muscles. So it reduced some pressure, and it was her arms in particular. It reduced some of the tension on her joints, and so there'd be a little space in that joint. And that was helpful for her. Anxiety, reduce anxiety, help you feel more caring towards yourself and others. The establishing a continuing bond with your loved one, which we're going to talk more about as I move forward. While mindfulness itself isn't about thinking about somebody or, conjuring up a feeling about them, compassion might be, but mindfulness isn't. But one thing that shows up a lot in people who take that time out to get still and just be with what is sometimes a memory will pop up. Or I had a client recently in a yoga therapy session. She was just laying down and focused on her breath, and she'd come in and she was like, I spent all day yesterday talking to my best friend about my son. And she's like, today I don't want to talk. I just kind of want to be with wherever I am. And so I was just kind of leading her through a body scan where she was laying down, focusing on different parts of her body. And she had this overwhelming sense of, first, her husband's mother who had recently died, and then her son, and she kind of felt like they were embodied in her. There was a place in her body where she carries their memory. And this is kind of an interesting thing when we talk about continuing bonds. She didn't think about this. This kind of came to the surface because she created the space for it. One of my mentors, Dr. Robert Niemeyer, talks about how, there's a difference between continuing bonds and like a real clinging, grasping memory that holds you down. And he said the difference is a continuing bond is where you feel like the memory of your special person is portable. You don't have to stay isolated in your house or stay in the same room, but it goes with you wherever you are, and you're able to carry it. So part of that portability is that it's not a burden to carry the memory, it's a joy. And of course, this is something that develops over, and I hesitate with the word time, I will say through the grief work that we do, it develops. And so what that client was kind of experiencing by creating quiet space was that portable joy, because she felt warm and good. And sad, it's also crying and joy can go kind of hand in hand. Last year, one of my regular yoga therapy clients, not a grief client, her husband died, and the holidays were coming, and she decided to go to her sister's house at the beach, and they were just gonna skip Christmas. They were just like, we're just not gonna do it, we're gonna go to the beach. But she felt like that was somehow a betrayal to the season, to Christmas, to the people who expected her to show up. And one of the things that she found really helpful that allowed her to go to the beach, and yes, she remembered it was Christmas and it was a hard day. It was gonna be a hard day either way, but at least this way she didn't have to also cook a meal, which would have been for her a struggle, is to remember that just because you do it this way this year does not mean it will always be this way. Traditions can be skipped, and you can build new ones, and you can decide next year how it will be. And for some people, skipping the traditions is another loss. I remember the year after my grandfather died, and we didn't let my grandmother cook dinner. We went out to a restaurant for dinner. The very idea, she was mortified. I was a little too young to pick up on that. Again, it's the hindsight thing. But it's what it's what we wound up doing. And, you know, the next year, she got to make her big meal, you know, which one could argue maybe we should have let her that year, but my mother, you know, we're all grieving, right? And so there's absolutely no perfectly graceful way to get through this. It's just the compassion that we bring.